Hi everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Amy.
And I'm Sarah, and today we're going to be discussing Every Beautiful Mile by Ashley Manley.
The first few minutes we're going to do a brief review of the story without any spoilers. Then we are going to shift into a deeper book discussion that's going to include lots of spoilers. But don't worry, we're going to let you know before we do shift over into that deeper book discussion.
That's right. So before we start discussing all of those points, Amy, tell us a little bit about the story.
A widow who tragically loses her husband of 17 years must find a way to move forward with life after living as only a shell of herself for a year. She decides to take the RV her late husband was refinishing on a cross-country road trip with her 2 teenage kids. When her journey takes her to the coast of Maine to meet with a local restaurant owner who has been emailing with her business ideas, she doesn't expect to find freedom in moving on with her life as they build a connection. Sarah, what did you think about Every Beautiful Mile? I kind of expected that reaction from you.
I sobbed so much, but it was so beautiful. It was every chapter was a beautiful one.
Beautiful mile?
It was a beautiful mile. It was really well done. I felt like the author tackled grief of losing a spouse, what I imagine it would feel like and what it would look like and some of the emotions that you could feel. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I really, I felt like I was grieving along with the main character. And kind of really emotionally going on that journey that she was feeling. So I enjoyed it. It was hard read, but it was beautiful.
This story was so genuine and heartfelt. It was emotional, but it surprised me because it had moments sprinkled throughout that were very comedic to me.
Yes, me too.
Humorous, made the heavier parts of the story feel lighter. Mm-hmm. Watching the family dynamics between the female main character and her kids was so rewarding to me. Yeah. And going on that journey with her and getting to experience her falling in love for a second time just brought me so much joy.
Yeah.
I loved that aspect of the story.
I did too.
Let's get into our ratings. Angst.
Angst was just kind of a 1.
I did 1.5. It wasn't so much an angst-filled story as it was the heaviness of the grief that was felt.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Mm-hmm. Humor.
Humor, this is like 1.25 because it's definitely sprinkled throughout.
I did 1.75. Like I said, this story surprised me in the best way. Mm-hmm. I found myself laughing out loud and chuckling many times throughout. Mm-hmm. I was just thinking just now of a few things. And I loved the clumsiness of the female main character and the way she just blurts things out. It makes everything so awkward, and I thought about how much you just have secondhand embarrassment for characters. Many times in the story, I thought of you, and there's some great banter.
There is so much great banter in this
banter,
story.
It's phenomenal.
And I felt so embarrassed for her, and then I had to stop and tell myself, you have literally done stuff like that. Like, I have never felt more connected to a character than I did this one, so... yeah, let's just keep going.
Spiciness.
It was like a 1.5.
I did 1.75. That was just the right amount.
Yeah. She did well.
Tears.
3.
Okay.
I cried so hard.
I did 1.5. I did not cry.
I sobbed.
I knew you had cried.
And sobbed. I started crying in chapter 1, and I think I cried for like a good 50% of the story.
I remember you telling me, like, early on when you started the story that you had already cried, and when I got to that part, I'm like, okay, I'm probably not going to cry in this one.
I knew you wouldn't.
I have a heart attack.
I knew you wouldn't.
But the grief is heavy throughout, and that is why I gave it the rating I did on the tears. I didn't actually cry, and I was surprised I didn't, but I laughed more than I cried, honestly. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a heavy story, don't get me wrong.
Guys,
I'm weird sometimes.
What are we going to do with her? Overall, it was a 4.25.
I gave it a 5.
Did you really?
Yes, I loved this story so much.
Aww.
I love a story that gives a main character a second chance after tragedy. Those just always move me. And this was just such a beautiful story. I know I already said that, but I found myself reading slower than I normally would with this story because I just simply didn't want it to end. And I loved the male main character in the story a lot.
I'm ready to dive into it.
All right, that concludes a spoiler-free quick review of this story. Now we're going to shift into a deeper book discussion, and if you would like to continue on that journey with us, simply click that link below or open any podcast platform and search Post-Book Depression. We would love to connect with you on social media. You can find us on Instagram at Post-Book Depression Podcast, on Facebook in our Post-Book Depression discussion group, and you can always email us at postbookdepressionpodcast@gmail.com.